Good morning, Fish World. I'm working on my VIP December project, Winter Wonderland, and I wanted to share some thoughts that I had while I was making this tank and while I was visiting some other tanks. This tank is not complete, but I worked on it several hours yesterday, doing and redoing different items. But I wanted to share some tips on some common mistakes that I've seen people make in their tanks, which could have made their tank a great tank and not just a fair tank to visit. Um, I've gotten these ideas from various people. Trish, John have been, Robin have been some of my major influential people. But please always shrink down your fish. These of course are not fish. These are skating snowmen. But when they're left at their original size, they just don't look as well. I would like to say that they look silly, but I don't want anyone's feelings to get hurt. But they just don't look as well as they do when they are various sizes. Also pay attention to the background. These skating snowmen are sort of like the flamingos that we got. It was very, very difficult to find a background that worked with those flamingos that made sense. I mean, flamingos don't walk over houses, they don't. And little skating snowmen skate on ice. They don't skate on snow, they don't skate on wood. So, lucky me, I think this was Dawn's background that I found on her site. And at first, I've covered this little part of the background up because there's a little bit of snow and a little piece of wood. But when and the snowmen were skating over that piece of wood and the snow, which I couldn't stand. But whenever I shrank the snowmen down, now they are clearly skating on ice. Now at first I experimented with the ice from the store, but I discovered that I didn't need it. Okay, another thing is get a theme in mind for your tank, or develop the theme as you're creating the tank. This theme for this month, both in VIP and FDACT, is Winter Wonderland. So, well, I'm from Texas, so we didn't have a lot of winter or wonder in Texas. So I went to YouTube for some inspiration. And I discovered that somewhere in Europe, maybe London, there is this Winter Wonderland theme park. And I thought, well, that would be fun, and I could probably do that on this tank. Now, of course, none of this was there. I wish I could show you the original tank. I will eventually, the original background. So anyway, but the number one thing, other than the snowmen skating on actual ice, was my version of the new waterfall made from the icebergs. Robin and John have made both extraordinary waterfalls and ponds. And I actually was going to try to make one of theirs. But then as it evolved, and you'll discover this the more that you create tanks, as it evolved, it became something I wanted to experiment with. So essentially in my waterfall, there is a ton of things. The waterfall in and of itself, of course, is the focal point, which is another really good thing to have in your tank, is a focal point. The rest of this is just to be there and sort of enhance the theme, but the real ticket item here is this waterfall. I turned the icebergs, of course, on their sides, and I tried several different like decals behind it, but the reason that this one looks so blue is because of the magical book. I turned the magical book on its side, and there's no telling how many magical books there are. Does this tank tell me how many? There's 158 decals in this tank, which isn't very much. But anyway, there are several magic books turned on their side and also glowing over here and glowing down here at the bottom to make this tank glow. I also decided that I wanted it to be sort of a magical winter wonderland. So instead of it looking so realistic, I wanted it to look more like a theme park. So that's the reason that I felt empowered to go ahead and use this color changing lava lamp. I thought, well, in a winter wonderland, wherever they would be, if it's about a fish world or like a sea world, there would be swimming orcas. So I animated the orcas. This took a long time because once you start this animation, all these decos go away, and so you have to experiment over and over and over, or I do, to get these decos to stay right here, because if the orcas were swimming over this ice, then it would not look what? Realistic. So then I also wanted to have this Evernote cheat sheet that I'm adding on to all the time. I wanted to add the blue glow behind the moon, which I did. I don't think I've added any flash yet. I don't think I've added any by 5 flash yet. Water in motion, I think, is there. This tank's not appropriate for the Triarch, which is so adorable, or robots. But the pumpkins glowing behind things, and the lightning window is totally cool. Okay, so going to the lights on, lights off function, because part of this experiment is to use as many tricks and ideas as you can. So as you can see, this tank looks fairly decent and stays with the theme when the lights are also turned off. Now then, the thing that is glowing behind these icebergs are the pumpkins, glowing pumpkins that we got several years ago that I had in my inventory and also bought from the auction house. Straight down so that you can't see them and that they only show up when the lights are off. Okay, behind, if it will do it, there's also some glowing Christmas lights here. So now you can see these. Now the thing that makes these, the fish roll sign glow and the waterfall glow, is of course the lightning windows. So, and then the wonderful Fish World gave us so many wonderful things back this year. It's great. So these glowing stars are, of course, the Star of Bethlehem. I discovered I'm not terribly good at reflections. This isn't complete. I'm going to put some more toys underneath here. I tried to reflect the snowman. It's my attempt at reflection anyway, because I wanted to add something. Okay, so I thought if it's a Winter Wonderland thing, there may be some kids camping. So that made it available for me to realistically, staying within the theme and the storyline, to have kids camping over here on what used to be just an ugly piece of snow and branch. So then there's a fireplace here, the campfire. But a campfire has motion. So to add motion to this campfire, rather than using fire, I use the fire emitter, and I like it better. But the more detail and the more time that you spend on a tank, and the more that it tells a story, let me go to deco mode. The more that it goes, that it tells a story, the more pleasing it is to the eye. So I would encourage you to take your time to make it your own, to let your inner child sort of help guide you, and to add a lot of details, shrink a lot of things down, add motion, tell a story. Have fun, Fish World. Thank you.